Welcome to Alaska Family Connection. I'm in Valdez right now, surrounded by beautiful mountains right on the water, and I'm sitting with Pastor Phil Merioles of one of our longer tenured pastors. How long have you been in Valdez, Phil?
About 25 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm always asking people, tell us about this initial calling to ministry. Where did that come from?
Well, my calling was somewhat different from others that I've heard. I grew up in the mission field. I saw, in the South Pacific, I saw some of the negativity side of it.
So you were a missionary kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
My parents were missionaries with a different denomination, but holiness tradition nonetheless.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of negativity, and I didn't get really serious about my faith until I was going through basic training in the Army at 17, and I got the word that my father had died.
Wow.
And so that was kind of a turning point.
How old were you at the time?
I was at a crossroads. I knew...
How old were you when he died?
I was 17.
17.
Yeah, I was going through basic training in the Army.
Wow.
And I was at a crossroads. I knew if I didn't commit to Christ that I would go a different direction into a dark place. And so I committed my life to Christ, and God helped me throughout the time I was in the service. At 19, I was a sergeant. I was the youngest sergeant in my unit. And I had a really good time in the service. I thought I would stay in, but towards the end of my tour, God began to really speak to me about getting out and getting an education. And so I didn't...
So would you say it was from the death of your dad that really kind of turned you towards Jesus, and then this spiritual transformation?
Yeah, it caused me to take it a whole lot more serious.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know what other way to describe it other than that. I came home on leave, and during an altar call service, I went forward.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I took my faith seriously. And so, but God helped me through the service and gave me a launch pad for discipline and education. And in fact, I mentioned I was a high school dropout. I got a GED when I was in the service.
Wow.
And so when I got out of the service and was looking for what career to pick, I felt called into ministry, but I didn't want anything to do with ministry. And so I looked at all these other careers that I thought I would enjoy doing, but none of them gave me peace except going into ministry. So I figured, well, I'll go ahead and try. I know I won't make it. I'm going to fail. They're going to kick me out of school for some reason. But they never did. And
did you think you might go to the mission field, or what did you think
I
that
thought I
calling might
would
look
go
like?
into military chaplaincy.
Oh, okay.
That's where I felt I did the best at.
Yeah.
And but that was not to be. When I was in seminary, I ended up getting sick and developing type 2 diabetes, and I could never kick it, even though I was thin. And I pursued the ordination requirements after seminary. I got ordained in Kansas City, and then
which is just amazing to me that a high school dropout that got as far as 10th grade goes to a 4-year college, gets a degree, and then goes to seminary, which is another 3 years of graduate level. I mean, that's amazing that you overcame obstacles that others would have probably said, I'm just not good at school, I'm not good at education.
Well, I wasn't good, but...
just stubborn then, I guess.
Yeah, more stubborn than bright, okay. You know. But as I said, God opened doors, and I think the hinge pin for opening doors is obedience.
Yeah.
You don't know how it's going to unfold, but I was taught So when I forgot to mention this, I had a mentor. He was a godly man. He would pray 3-4 hours a day, it seemed like, for various ministries, various people. And when I was young, and when my dad died, he turned to me, came to the funeral and said, listen, if you need me day or night, you call me. He was friends with my parents in the mission field. And so I did that. And he would pray with me through different things, and God would speak to his heart and lead me. I was kind of bouncing back and forth and needed help as a young guy. And years later, at his funeral, I was able to get a hold of his a copy. I went to his funeral from Alaska, and I was able to get a hold of his prayer journal, a list of prayers. It was pages long, and right in the middle was Philip and Margaret Merioles, pastor, Valdez, Alaska.
Wow.
That was his prayer list. You know, he would pray for ministries around the world. He taught me the value of prayer, and he showed me what it meant to be godly, oftentimes in areas where I didn't have mentors. You know, I think that's important for young people.
For sure.
They have to see it lived out. But so he was very instrumental in my life. But each step of the way, I received a 3-year ROTC scholarship. I was the second student at Bethany to receive that. It was a full ride. It paid for 3 years of undergraduate work. And I went on to Fort Gordon, Georgia for 6 months for my officer basic course. I came back to seminary and I was actually in seminary 5 years because I worked full-time at Sprint, and I had a family. And one of my daughters, my middle daughter, she was born with hip dysplasia. Her hips were out of the socket very badly.
Ooh,
and so she was in a cast for 2 years, and she had surgeries every 6 weeks. And so because of that, and because of working full-time, I had to slow down in seminary. But they were patient with me. I had bonuses through sales at Sprint, long distance in Kansas City. And I didn't have to take a loan out. I would just use my bonus checks to cover schooling.
Wow.
And so I got through my Master's of Divinity without a loan.
That's amazing.
And so God helped. He opened doors. And so when I was done getting ordained, I ended up going to St. Louis, my home church. They called me. And they asked me to pastor there. They had gone through a split. And they asked me to come and help be the associate pastor and youth in charge of youth. And Margaret and I agreed to do that. It was a non-denominational church at the time, but the Kansas City district allowed me to go. And so while I was there, I was working part-time for FedEx. And lo and behold, some relatives on my dad's side, who I'd never met before, reached out to me and said, hey, we'd like to meet you in the Philippines. And I said, well, okay. And so at the time, you could jump seat anywhere in the world the planes went. And so I was able to go for free. But to get there, you had to go from St. Louis to Indianapolis to Anchorage. And while I was in Anchorage, I was looking around at the mountains, and I always had a heart for adventure. And I thought, I wonder what it'd like to be pastoring a church here in Alaska. And so when I got
What time
back,
of year was it? Do you remember?
Oh, it was 2001.
I mean, was it spring? Was it winter?
It was towards the summertime. And I sent the DS my resume. I think it was Larry
White?
Larry White. I sent him my resume. I've had several of them, I think. And Larry called me and said, listen, we don't get very many seminary graduates up here, and I don't have a position open, but I'll keep your resume on file. I said, yeah, do that. Just keep it on file. And he called me a month later.
So you took the position, though, at your home church as an associate. So you were, you had that.
I was still pastoring there, working part-time at FedEx. And he calls me a month later and says, hey, I just had a position open up in a place called Valdez, Alaska. You think you might be interested in going and checking it out? I said, sure, why not? And so I jump-seated back up here for free with FedEx.
Oh, nice.
I came down here and I was just amazed. I flew down here on what was then called, I think, Raven or Grant. And
just you, not Margaret.
yeah, Margaret was pregnant.
Okay.
And she couldn't travel. Okay. She was pregnant with Lydia.
Yeah.
And I interviewed, and I was looking. Oh man, this is amazing! This is a beautiful. I said there must be 100 students trying to get this position, and so I interviewed, and it was unanimous. They all voted for me, and I found out later I was the only one that applied. So that's how I beat the system, right? And so we moved up here.
So, I mean, you've basically raised your family here in Alaska.
Yeah, most of them. Well, they were 4 and 5 and 6 years old when they got here.
Real little.
Yeah, but my daughter, my youngest, was 3 weeks old when she got here.
Wow.
And now she's a 23-year-old, actually 24-year-old college graduate out of Ohio. Yeah. Mount Vernon.
So did Margaret get to see Valdez at all?
She came sight unseen.
You said yes? Okay,
yeah,
wow.
She came sight unseen. And she was amazed. We came in the summertime. They came at the end of August. I had to stay behind a couple weeks for voting new pastors in and such. But, I mean, God opened doors for us. Valdez is not an easy church to pastor. Yeah. But God has always provided a way for us. When I got sick, He opened doors in ways, as a pastor, you always preach, God will make a way for you. Yeah. Well, you don't really experience that until you go through it yourself. Yeah. And my youngest daughter was still like her second year, a sophomore in college, and I was so worried, how am I going to get her through? Yeah. And yet God opened doors in ways that I can't even describe, where He met needs, financial needs. And so each step of the way, God was there, even in the darkest of times. Yeah. And so I was in the hospital once, and I was struggling. It was in the height of COVID, and I'd been there for weeks. I'd lost track of time. And I said, Lord, you promised you'd never leave us or forsake us. You got to show me you're with me, even now. Yeah. And there was a nurse that came in, and she would write, back in those days, even now, the nurses write the names of the nurse on the left side and the names of the technician on the right side in the room on a dry erase board. And I'd been praying, Lord, you got to show me you're with me. Yeah. And the nurse put her name up there, and she wrote BK. And I thought, that can't be her name. Nobody's going to name their daughter BK unless it meant something. And so I asked her one day, she came in to check my vitals. I said, what's your name mean? And she smiled. She was African. And she mumbled this stuff that I didn't understand. I said, what is that in English? And she said, it means gift from God. Wow. I said, why are you named gift from God? She said, well, my parents were African missionaries, and they weren't supposed to have children. Oh, wow. And she said, my mother became pregnant, and my parents decided whether it was a boy or a girl, we were going to call this child Gift from God. Wow. So that was her name in African, Gift from God. And so every time Gift from God would come in, I would be reminded of God's presence. That's great. Because here was a girl that wasn't supposed to be born, that many years later was a nurse taking care of a very sick Valdez pastor. Yeah. And every time she came in, I was reminded of God's presence, and I got stronger. Yeah. And even when you get stronger, they take you out of intensive care and move you to a room down the hall that doesn't require as much attention. But that nurse followed me and would come in and visit me and check on me on how I was doing. And every time she came in, I was reminded of God's presence, that I wasn't alone. Yeah. And so that was real helpful. Yeah. And that was one of the small things that God would do to meet you in a dark place. Yeah. And so, Valdez has been good. We raised 6 kids out of here, and now we're shifting out of having COVID knock the wind out of us and kind of rebuilding. Yeah. And that's where we're at today.
Now, you're one of the pastors that's been bivocational.
Yes.
for quite a bit of your ministry.
Right.
But
The
I don't
whole
get a
time.
sense that you have been resentful of that. In fact, you look at it very positively. I mean, tell us your perspective as a pastor that also has to work on the side to make a living, and you're in both worlds of pastoring, yet you're also working. How do you view that?
So, being bivocational, I've worked the whole time. I worked when I was on my undergraduate. I worked when I was in seminary. The whole time I've worked. And, working full-time and pastoring a church requires you to balance things very carefully. And quite honestly, there are things that you give up that you can't do simply because you don't have enough time.
Sure.
And so I find it to be a blessing in several ways. One, the church is not dependent on my benefits. If this church were have to pay out benefits, it would bury them.
Yeah.
Because benefits, health coverage, insurance is so expensive.
Yeah.
The other thing is, as a pastor of a church who is bivocational, there are times where board members are not exactly godly, and they'll try to withhold payment if you don't do things their way.
Yeah.
As a bivocational pastor, you don't worry about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I've had to fire board members who weren't behaving very godly, and they would lash out at you. And I had one guy tell the DS, your predecessor, we're the biggest tithers. He's going to lose all this money by firing me. I just needed him to step down. His ego had gotten bigger than his position.
Yeah.
And he was not treating people well.
Yeah.
I needed him to step down. If he'd have hung in there, he'd have been back on there next year. But he got angry and lashed out. And I told him, I said, you might be the biggest tither, but I promise you God will provide for this church.
Yeah.
And God did. God met our needs in ways that are very difficult for me to describe.
Sure.
When I got sick, I went to my church treasurer afterwards. I said, how did you guys pay the bills? I don't know. We just did. What do you mean you don't know? You're the treasurer.
Yeah.
That's not an answer you want to hear from your treasurer. How did you pay the fuel bill? How did all this get done?
Yeah.
He said, I can't describe it. I don't know. It just did.
Wow.
And so, anyhow, but God has been very faithful to us.
Well, it seems like it's giving you so many opportunities to meet people in the community
It does.
that you wouldn't have if you were just pastoring, that you've made a lot of connections within the community.
I have, yes. And
some of that has even been people have then come to your church and have become a part of it.
many people from other churches. So I discovered shortly, a few years after coming to Valdez, that I could not focus on just pastoring the Church of the Nazarene. I had to focus on being a community pastor.
Yeah.
Otherwise, my perspective on reaching out would be too narrow.
Yeah.
And so, I developed relationships throughout various churches. I have very close friends at the First Baptist Church. I had, when we were struggling to meet the financial need of my father-in-law, who was in assisted living, I had one man call me up and give me a new car.
Wow.
And said, Phil, there's no strings attached. You can keep your current car or sell it. And we ended up selling our current car, which is a Subaru. He gave us a brand new HRV Honda. It only had 17,000 miles on it.
Wow.
And he had two sets of tires, one studded for winter, one for summer.
Wow.
And so we've been blessed when we needed it in ways that's very difficult to describe. It would be tough to get a church in your own denomination to gift you with a car, much less one in a different denomination.
Sure.
So that's the kind of deep and rich relationships we've been able to connect with in this. God's been faithful, and there are certainly challenges. Valdez is a snow capital of the world. We are anticipating a very hard winter because we've had a good summer. When we've had a good summer, you can typically expect a bad winter. And so I have photographs of our dogs running up the snowbank to the second story of our garage.
Wow.
So
if you've never been to Valdez, it's primarily a fishing community. Is that what you'd say, or what is the primary?
The primary is oil field. The oil ends up here at Alyeska, but fishing is very strong as well.
Yeah.
We have a fishing industry. We have fishermen that come from all over the world. It's commercial fishing as well as sports fishing.
Yeah.
And so we have a school district. We have 5 Coast Guard stations. They're small.
Wow.
There's about 130 Coast Guard members. And then we have the hospital. It employs 135 employee caregivers or so. We have school district and those government positions, those kind of jobs.
Yeah.
And so we are about 4,300 in the wintertime.
Okay.
And we double in size in the summer.
Yeah.
Usually
cruise ships will even come, right?
Yeah, cruise ships will come.
Yeah.
I've had guests show up from other Nazarene churches from all over the lower 48.
Yeah.
And they'll share stories and visit with us, and sometimes we get to take them out to lunch if they got time. So, yeah.
So as I'm traveling the district, there's pockets. So there's the Kenai Peninsula. There's a kind of a bunch of churches within about 2 hours of each other. Then there's, of course, Fairbanks. We've got 3 churches kind of by there. And then there's the Anchorage Bowl and Matsu. And then what we call off-road. And I feel like you fit more in the off-road department than you do because, I mean, you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. It took me 6 hours to get to you, but there's nothing really nearby you. I mean, that's got to feel unique too.
Well, as I said, we have a heart for adventure.
So what would you say you're closer to? Are you closer to Anchorage or Fairbanks?
Anchorage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're closer to Anchorage. Cordova is the nearest Nazarene church. It's 70 miles from here.
Okay.
You can't get there by road system. You have to take a plane or ferry.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So what is unique about the Valdez Church of the Nazarene? When you look at your church, you say, this is really who we are. This is who we embody.
You know, over the years, we have ministered to people who at one point in time, broken people, who have given up on church life for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And if they'll stay with us for a little while before being transferred out, God brings healing into their life in whatever situation it was that they got hurt by.
Yeah.
And they typically will go to a different church wherever they move to. And because Valdez is very transitory. You have people here who are just here 6 months, maybe 2 years.
Sure.
And so you have housing issues that are hard to find. We have, when we fill positions at the hospital, we have to get travelers a lot because people have a tough time wanting to live here with our snow load and our remoteness.
Yeah.
That's 2 things that hit us hard.
Sure.
And so what ends up happening is people are with us for a while, and then they move on, but they move on healthier spiritually. They move on interested in being involved in ministry and being involved in church life.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can describe it.
Sure.
We're like a healing church,
if
I could put it that way.
That's great.
And so, but God helps us to connect with people, and you'll see them tomorrow during our potluck. Some can tell you some pretty broken stories.
Yeah. Such a long time to be at a church. I mean, it's almost unheard of to be 20 plus years at a church. What would you say is the secret of longevity like that? And how do you stay, I guess, fresh and not get into a rut in ministry?
It's easy to get in a rut, even if you transfer to new churches, because the honeymoon quickly ends.
Yeah.
And for me, one of my mentors in seminary was Jaron Rao. And one of his things that he taught was that longevity in ministry pays big dividends.
Yeah.
Because your people are just getting to know you after a few years. They're just getting to know you. And if you pack up and move, they're going to have to get to know another pastor.
Yep.
And that's a cycle that just keeps happening. Pastors come in, and the thought in parishioners' minds are, well, how long is he going to stay?
Yeah.
Do I even want to invest in his ministry? Those kind of things. And so I find it comes full circle. You get to know people, you get to build relationship, and those relationships keep building. I had this young guy, he wanted to date one of my daughters, and I wouldn't allow it. And he got mad at me. Well, I wanted my daughters to focus on education and putting God first, not getting involved in the drama of high school. My kids didn't go to prom events because the dancing is vulgar, the dress is ugly, it just leads to promiscuity in ways that we preach against.
Sure.
And so instead of having a prom night dancing in a vulgar way, they would go to the Chinese restaurant and have dinner with other friends who didn't feel like going, and then they would come back to our place for movie night. There was one point where we had the largest youth group in town because of all these kids.
Yeah.
And, well, that young man who wanted to date my daughter, a couple of years later, he finds another girl and gets attached with her. She has a baby who's a girl. And he just lives around the corner from me. So I grabbed some new diapers and wipes and took it over to him as a gift. And while I'm visiting with him, I say to him, while he's holding this little daughter, I said, so tell me, how long will it be before she's allowed to date? And he looked at me and said, she's not going to be a date. I said, now you understand where I'm coming from. It was nothing personal.
Right.
This was not the right time for her.
Right.
And I didn't say it, but he was not the right guy.
Right.
You know? And so even though they might be nice guys, they're not the right guy.
Right.
You know, there's a difference. And so relationships come around full circle.
Yeah.
Many people know me. I've forgotten their names. COVID was tough. They'd say hi to me in the grocery store. I'd pretend I know them. And I'd say to Mark, who was that? And she'd have to fill me in on the blank because I got the mask on. And I'm like, who is it? Who are these people? And kids grow up.
Yeah.
The kids that were young and clean-shaven now have beards. And I don't and they have to tell them, hey, Pastor Phil, I'm so-and-so. Oh, sorry, man, I didn't remember.
Right.
And so anyway, but no, people begin to know you. And one thing that's really important in ministry is trust.
Yeah.
And they begin to trust you as a pastor. As I said, I've done funeral services for several people at the Baptist church, simply because I had relationship with them and their current pastor didn't.
Yeah.
So relationship is everything.
Yeah.
And relationship, so this town is, I think it's typical of any Alaskan town. I don't know for sure. But when people get sick or they have fires, the community pulls together. Doesn't matter your religion, your politics, or any of those things that cause division. They will put money in GoFundMe accounts to help you out. And so they do that. And Valdez is a wealthy community. We have the oil fields. Providence Valdez is a hospital that's not struggling like the other hospitals. We are expanding and we're paying cash for it.
Wow.
And so it's a wealthy little town, and they look after each other during difficult times. And so I don't think that's unique. I think that's typically Alaskan.
That's what I'm hearing as I travel the district.
Yeah.
We may not agree politically. We may have disagreements on different things, but when people are in trouble, Alaskans seem to help each other out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when people are watching this and they think about the Valdez Church, are there maybe one or two ways that you would say, hey, pray for us in this?
Well, we are trying to reach out to our community in powerful ways. we try to look at a place where the church is not.
Yeah.
And to go, I don't like to duplicate what other churches are doing,
Yeah.
because then it becomes a competition.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. That's not good for community.
No.
And so I like to go in areas where churches are not. We have looked at opening up a daycare, because a daycare is tough in this community. It's very expensive.
Yeah.
Or maybe an after-school program for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, we went and picked up my father-in-law. We could no longer afford $3,000 a month to cover his expenses.
Yeah.
And so we picked up my father-in-law, brought him here. It's been quite the challenge. Margaret's had a medical thing a couple weeks ago. I was in bed sleeping, and out of nowhere, I hear this yelling, "Whoever's next in line, step forward." And I'm scrambling to get my leg on and figure out who's in my house, what's going on here. By the time I get to him, he's counting backwards. 10, 9, 8, 7, you better step forward, type of thing.
Oh, wow.
I had to wake him up because he's
wow.
dreaming.
Yeah.
And so it disrupts your home in ways you're not ready for.
Yeah.
But, Margaret, she's trying to honor her family, her parents. Her mother's dead. And she's trying to bring respect and dignity to her father, and I have to honor that.
Yeah.
And so he's with us. We're trying to get him in long-term care living here. And so a thing you can be praying for is that God will open the right door for that. The other thing is in May I'll be back on the kidney transplant list, and I could use some prayer with that, because it's been a long fight.
Yeah. Yeah. When did you first go on that list?
2018.
Yeah. It's been a long time to be on dialysis.
It is.
Yeah.
It zaps your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have multiple complications because of it.
Yeah.
And so, but God's been faithful.
Yeah. Well, Phil, thank you for years and years of service to Valdez for our district. I mean, it's just incredible to me the way that you've just faithfully ministered to this community. It's amazing. I want to thank you for watching. We're going to see you real soon.